March 7, 1945. The Rhine River. For centuries, it was the mystical heart of Germany. In Wagner's operas, it was a place of gods and monsters. But in the dying days of the Third Reich, it was something far more tangible. It was a barrier, a dark, cold, fast-flowing moat, protecting the heartland of Nazi Germany from the advancing Allied armies. By late winter, the German army was broken, but dangerous. They were retreating, pulling back behind this massive natural defense. And they had one standing order, issued directly from Berlin: destroy the bridges. Every single one. No Allied boot was to touch the eastern bank of the Rhine. As the American armies pushed forward, they found only twisted steel and crumbled stone. The bridges at Cologne, Bonn, and Düsseldorf were already lying in the water. The Wehrmacht was burning the path behind them. But amidst the chaos of retreat, a mistake was happening. A catastrophic oversight that would change the course of the war. It is a gray, miserable afternoon. Rain spits from a leaden sky. The men of the U.S. 9th Armored Division are pushing through the muddy hills overlooking the town of Remagen. They are tired. They are dirty. They are not looking for glory. They are looking for a place to sleep. They expect the Rhine to be an impassable wall. They expect to wait weeks for engineers to build pontoon bridges under heavy fire. Lieutenant Karl Timmermann, a young officer born in Frankfurt, just miles from here, leads the lead company. He steps to the edge of a ridge near the Apollinaris Church. He raises his binoculars. Through the mist and the drizzle, he sees something that stops his heart. Down in the valley below, spanning the wide gray river, a structure is still standing. It is the Ludendorff Bridge, a massive railroad bridge, its dark steel arches rising high above the water. It is intact. Traffic is still moving across it. Retreating German trucks, soldiers and civilians are bottlenecked, fleeing to the safety of the East Bank. Timmermann cannot believe his eyes. He radios back to his commander, Brigadier General William Hoge. The message is simple, but the implications are terrifying. The bridge is there. Hoge's response is immediate. You have 45 minutes, take the town, get to the bridge. If it's standing, you take it. The clock starts ticking. On the other side of the river, panic is setting in. The German commander, Captain Willy Brandt, has been screaming for permission to blow the bridge for days, but the chain of command is paralyzed. He has been told to keep it open as long as possible to let the retreating 15th Army escape. Now, the Americans are pouring down the vineyard-covered slopes. Brandt finally gets the authorization, but nothing goes according to plan. This is the friction of war. The intended demolition crew is understrength. The explosives they have are not military-grade TNT, but industrial donorite, a weaker compound used in mining. They have 600 pounds of it packed against the critical structural members of the bridge. It should be enough. It has to be enough. As Timmermann's half-tracks roar into the town of Remagen, the streets erupt in gunfire. Snipers fire from attic windows. Machine guns chatter from cellar vents. But the American momentum is unstoppable. The Pershing tanks, the heavy beasts of the armored division, rumble through the cobblestone streets, blasting holes in the buildings where the defenders are hiding. They reach the bridge approach. The sight is daunting. The Ludendorff Bridge is over 1,000 feet long. At the far end, two massive stone towers loom like medieval castle turrets. Inside those towers are machine gun nests and anti-aircraft crews training their barrels directly down the throat of the bridge. The Americans are exposed. There is no cover on the bridge, just open railroad tracks and a steel grate floor that lets you see the swirling black water far below. At 3 p.m., a preliminary explosion rocks the western ramp. The Germans have blown a crater in the approach road to stop the tanks. It works. The tanks can't cross, but the infantry can. General Hoge gives the order that every soldier dreads. Go. Timmerman looks at his men. They know what this means. They are being asked to run onto a bridge that is rigged to explode. At any second, the sky could turn white, and they would be vaporized. Get across, Timmerman yells, and don't stop for anything. The American GIs break cover. They start to run. On the eastern bank, the German engineers watch in horror. The enemy is on the bridge. Captain Bradge screams the order. Ignite! A soldier twists the handle of the detonator. Nothing happens. Silence. A tank shell has severed the primary electrical cable. The chaos of the bombardment has saved the Americans for a few precious seconds. Desperate, a German volunteer runs into the line of fire. He lights the emergency primer cord by hand. It's a slow-burning fuse. He sprints back to cover. The flame races toward the main charge. On the bridge, the Americans are halfway across. Sergeant Alexander Drabik is sprinting, his head down, bullets pinging off the steel girders around him. He is running a race against a fuse he cannot see. Suddenly, the world ends. A massive explosion erupts from the eastern pier. A volcano of timber, steel, and smoke shoots into the sky. The concussion knocks men flat on both sides of the river. The roar rolls up the valley like thunder. The American commanders on the western bank drop their heads. They failed. They were too slow. The bridge is gone. But then the smoke begins to clear. The dust settles on the water. And there it is. The Ludendorff Bridge is still standing. The explosion was huge, but the weaker industrial explosives failed to snap the main arch. The bridge has lifted off its foundations, hung in the air for a terrible suspended second, and slammed back down into place. It is damaged. It is shaking. But it is unbroken. For a moment, both sides are frozen in disbelief. The bridge survived. Timmerman sees the opportunity. The shock has bought them a fraction of a second. "It's still up!" he screams. "Go! Go! Go!" The fear vanishes, replaced by pure adrenaline. The Americans charge. This is no longer a tactical maneuver. It is a wild scramble for history. Sergeant Drabik runs the gauntlet. He zigzags through the smoke, dodging the machine gun fire raining down from the stone towers. He doesn't look back. He doesn't check for his squad. He just runs. Behind him, Army engineers are doing the most dangerous job in the world. Lieutenant Hugh Mott and two sergeants, Eugene Dorland and John Reynolds, run onto the span not to cross it, but to save it. They find the demolition wires that haven't fired yet. They drop to their knees on the exposed steel. Bullets spark around them. With calmness that defies logic, they pull out their wire cutters. Snap, snap. They sever the lines to the remaining charges. They throw the explosives into the river. At the far end, Drabik reaches the eastern bank. He is the first American soldier to cross the Rhine since the Napoleonic Wars. He dives into a bomb crater, his chest heaving, his helmet lost somewhere on the tracks. He is not alone for long. Timmerman is right behind him. Then another. Then another. the trickle becomes a flood. They assault the stone towers. The Germans are stunned. They are fighting men who have just walked through fire. The resistance in the tunnel behind the bridge collapses. Hands go up. The surrender begins. Back at headquarters, the news travels up the chain of command like an electric shock. When General Omar Bradley gets the call, he pauses. "Hot damn," he says. "Get everything you have across. I don't care if you have to use the aerials on the jeeps to row." When the news reaches General Dwight D. Eisenhower, he is ecstatic. He famously declares, "That bridge is worth its weight in gold." Throughout the night, the 9th Armored pushes everything they have across the trembling structure. Tanks, trucks, half-tracks, thousands of men. The Germans know what has happened. The Luftwaffe throws everything it has at the bridge. Dive bombers, early jet fighters, even V-2 rockets are launched at this single point on the map. The water around the bridge boils with explosions, but the bridge holds. For 10 days, the Ludendorff Bridge stands. It groans under the weight of the American war machine. It absorbs bomb blasts and artillery shells. It allows 6 full divisions to cross into the heart of Germany, establishing a massive bridgehead that the Germans cannot contain. Then, on March the 17th, the tired steel finally gives up. With a sound like a dying beast, the bridge collapses into the Rhine, taking 28 American engineers with it. But its job is done. The barrier is broken. The psychological fortress of the Reich has been breached. The capture of the Remagen Bridge shortened the war in Europe. Military historians estimate it saved thousands of Allied lives and cut weeks, perhaps months, off the conflict. It threw the German defense into total disarray. Tens of thousands of German troops who were preparing to hold the East Bank were suddenly flanked and encircled. Hitler, in a rage, ordered the execution of 5 officers responsible for the loss of the bridge. It was the lashing out of a dying regime. They shot the men who failed to blow it up, but they could not shoot the reality that the war was lost. Today, the bridge is gone. Only the black, ominous stone towers remain on the river banks, standing like silent sentinels over the rushing water. Inside, one of them is a peace museum. It is quiet now. The screaming of the Stukas and the roar of the Pershing engines are long gone. But if you stand on that bank on a rainy March afternoon and look across the gray water, you can almost see them. You can see the ghost of the steel arch. You can feel the vibration of the boots on the metal grate. You can sense the sheer, impossible audacity of the moment. It was a battle that wasn't supposed to happen, for a bridge that wasn't supposed to exist, won by men who weren't supposed to survive. In the history of warfare, there are battles of strategy, battles of attrition, and battles of technology. But the battle for Remagen was different. It was a battle of opportunity. A moment where the fate of the world hung on a severed wire, a damp fuse, and the courage of a few dozen men running into the smoke. They say fortune favors the bold. On March 7, 1945, fortune didn't just favor the bold. It built them a bridge.